Capital Planning Commission for January 8th, 2026. And I'm Jim Bauer, and I'm stepping in as vice chair. If the chair arrives, I'd be happy to turn this across to her. But for now, I'm going to call the meeting to order and call for a roll call.
Right. Mike Abate. No Mike. Jim Bauer is here.
Here.
Jane Griggs is here. Julie Hoy, not here. Jan Calloway.
Here.
Jeremy Miller.
Here.
Michael Slater, not here. Senator Patterson.
Here.
Representative Mannix. Not here. Okie dokie. So we have a quorum. I guess.
Great. So we have quorum. That means we can take on this item of business. I think before we get started, is there anything anybody wants to bring up for the good of the group or related to the meeting?
Related to this topic?
Say it again.
Is it related to the topic, or are you going to let Daniel present first and then we can have questions? I just have one little question.
Well, I was just saying if there was anything else that anybody wanted to bring up to start, but we can certainly move right to the new business and the item.
Okay, I'll launch here. It's technically old business because we're continuing something that we brought up in July, and I have to apologize. We've been very busy and had a lot of little fire drills here and there, so this has taken several months for us to get to this point. But essentially, what we're trying to do is summarize our analysis of our method for contracting the Capital Mall Area Plan update that we were discussed at our last meeting, which we were scheduled to do. And to do that, we did some kind of alternative analysis based on some of the feedback we got from last meeting, in which some of you mentioned that we should perhaps the mayor's here. Look beyond Oregon or on a national basis for consulting services that are, expertly skilled in the type of work that this would entail. Our initial approach to this was to utilize a contract price agreement that we had established with 5 existing firms here in Oregon that were previously vetted and would give us a very streamlined procurement vehicle that we would allow us to commence the work. So I sent to you a memo that is sort of the analysis, or the alternative analysis that we did, that kind of explained what we thought were the strengths and weaknesses of the approach, but also some kind of the statutory and rule-based foundation that sort of guided us to where our recommendation was. And to kind of summarize a little bit, the 2 alternatives that we're considering, one is to utilize our price agreement, which would consist of one of 5 different consulting firms: LRS, Sarah, DLR, Hannaberry, Eddy, and Anchor Moyson, which the Bird already vetted as far as the price agreement was concerned, and just assign them a contract to do the work immediately. So we felt like some of the issues with that, as was sort of raised in the meeting, but also just objectively, was they are Oregon-based firms. Some of them have experience working with DAS, working with Capital Mall. There is a strong foundation in their competency in terms of planning and landscape architecture. And there'd be probably more familiarity with the city of Salem and Capital Mall, and would also just expedite the process a lot easier for us. And I think more importantly is it ensure consistency and responsiveness for the remaining plans that we have to do following the Capital Mall plan. So we could just do a continuation very easily. I think some of the weaknesses that we kind of came up with is, does that mean that these firms may or may not have expertise in capital mall or government complex planning? That's to be determined. But there are some firms in the country that are probably that is their thing to do, or they have sort of strong qualifications in that based upon their history. But the other thing is the competitive bid process, that if we had a market, open market bidding process that's sort of more equitable, but these firms have been vetted as part of a competitive bid process for being on the price agreement. Alternative 2 is to do an open market solicitation on a national level, looking for planning services that are very specific to the capital mall or government. And so you'd have a wider range of respondents to choose from, and so it'd be a very competitive bid process, and may bring a very unique approach to how the work would be done. However, I guess I'll say also was sort of stated that there was some, at least some kind of interest in having some tie to Oregon. And I think if we select somebody as a national firm, does that limit that familiarity that Oregon firms would have with, the culture of Oregon, the environment, the capital mall, the state, the city of Salem. So it also, an open solicitation, open market solicitation would add significant staff time and preparation to actually execute the RFP. And also national firms would increase the overhead and costs due to travel. So these are all, just sort of objective weaknesses that we sort of thought of. And also the fact that if you were to go with an Oregon-based firm, you're kind of maximizing the economic impact to the state, which is something that's I'm mindful of in these bidding processes. There are also, we were reminded that there are some administrative rules that pertain to this, and particularly is once we have an established mandatory use contract or price agreement, we're sort of obligated to go with it without, unless we have an exception. And the issue with the exception is that the administrative rule pretty clear that stipulates that a mandatory use contract has higher priority than open market contracts. So since we already have that, where the priority is already established, that's what we would go with in rule. So our recommendation is that we utilize the price agreement with one of the 5 firms to be the prime contractor on this project. And if there's some sort of expertise that is needed, that the contractor could subcontract for that if it's necessary. But we feel that kind of maximizes the familiarity with the environment, maximizes the responsiveness, and allows us to have easy consistency for all these other agencies and other plans that we have to work on the schedule. And ultimately, that would reduce time and cost and those other factors that are important for the use of public funds. So that's kind of my summary spiel of the memo. So let's chat. Let's discuss. Jane has a question.
Yes, I'm very much in favor of staff recommendation for several reasons, mostly because I think from a media play, it wouldn't look good for us to look outside of our state for a state project when we have people within our state that can do the work. My one question is, if they are lacking in expertise, as you've indicated in your memo, they can subcontract out that work. Can that subcontractor be outside the state of Oregon?
Well, I think a definitive answer would be, I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, perfect. I think it would be great if we gave them that leeway, because there may be some particular skill set that would be very helpful but I still want the contractor to be in Oregon. That's my 2 cents.
It's possible, but I've spoken to most all of these groups at this point, and they all seem to have the expertise and the practice of doing this type
Yeah.
of work. So
I mean, that's kind of what the takeaway is here is if you look at these firms, they're highly skilled in what they do and competitive enough where I think that the scope of the work here is within their wheelhouse. And I think, I'm not sure what expertise would be needed beyond what these firms could provide. DLR is actually a national firm with some Oregon roots, so they probably have a very deep bench. So that's kind of my thoughts about it. But to give you a definitive answer, Shane, I have to consult the procurement people to definitively say that that's possible. But
I'm still in favor of the staff recommendation. And I may be talking fast only because my grandchildren are gonna walk out of the school any second now, and then I'm gonna go on to mute and I'm not gonna have the camera on, but I'll still be listening.
okay, that sounds fair.
Hey, Daniel,
Yeah.
let's just make a note at procurement if we can put that in the scope of work. So any of the work out, if we could legally say that that's.
Okay, that'll noted. So, Representative Mannix, thank you for joining. And just as a summary, we're kind of going over a staff recommendation about, we've done some exploration and some analysis and about our procurement rules pertaining to how we would procure a contract for the Capital Mall Master or area plan contract. Given some of the rules that we discovered that it actually it's going to be more straightforward for us, and we have priority given to using a price agreement that we have established, and which would be one of 5 Oregon-based firms that is on our price agreement list. So that's kind of gets you caught up to where we're at. Now we're just in discussion.
Thank you.
And Shane asked the question about whether or not the contractor could subcontract with someone outside the state.
That's an option that we'll need to investigate in terms of the legality of it. But the contractors from the price agreement would be the prime contractor, and potentially would subcontract any other additional services as necessary if we can accomplish that through our contract language.
I think I want to just make sure we're clarified too in this. The way the proposal has come to us, this has to do with how we go and get the area plan updates, not for every single thing that happens under Capital Planning Commission.
This is specific to the area.
Just
right?
doing
So this is, and in that way, these have pretty comprehensive planning. It's prescriptive the way you've described it in the document, but it is really about these area plans. And so it could be we are knocking them off one at a time, right?
Yeah, there's the component of developing a methodology, implementing the methodology, and replicating the methodology. That's what
Yeah.
we're trying to.
We want one to grow on another.
Yeah, so there's got to be consistency, but also just to kind of speak a little bit off the cuff here, procurement's it's challenging at the state level. We have a lot of things that we have to do and it takes a long time for a good reason. So if we say this agency is responsible for this area plan, we've only done this one-off plan they'd have to go out and do another solicitation. And that's the luxury of the price agreement. And I think honestly, the intent of it is to ensure that there's the ability to kind of exercise these needs and with expedience and efficiency and consistency.
One more thing to add in, this is in some ways catching up to years of us discussing this. We're finally actually doing what we said we're gonna do.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we have discussed is that it's possible that the first one that we start with, the firm that does really good work, might be the firm we use another time because of that, the efficiency of that. Are we still talking that way?
It could be very likely. We make sure that we're equitable between these five A&E firms. And so what we would do is we would forecast when the next area plan would be developed, to make sure and distribute other work to the other four. That if we were to stay with the same one. To Daniel's point that it's the solicitation, this is the continuity. It's not just the cost of the first initial solicitation. It's that other agencies have to request funding. Once they receive that funding, then they potentially have to completely resolicit another contract where this is a price agreement and we would have the scope of work built.
Mhm.
And you wouldn't have that cost. You potentially incur that cost 5 times.
Right, right. That was our kind of, because we were realizing that the work we're asking to be done, it's not a budgeted item. This is gonna be all new money. Somehow they're gonna have to figure out how to pay for it.
And if we don't take a significant budget cut in the next few months, then DAS is doing the first one. No matter
Yeah,
what.
that's right. You're on the hook.
I have a question maybe for staff. So those 5 consultants, I've briefly reviewed each website and they do beautiful buildings. But I think there's some differences between a business park and a government office. There's a lot of symbolism in our government buildings. The Supreme Court building looks very unique because of the function, and same with the Capitol. And I'm just wondering, want to poke a little bit. If you're designing an office building for an insurance company, isn't that different than designing something of highly symbolic value for like a legislature or any other kind of government building? I don't disagree that the business park kind of buildings that they have designed look beautiful, but isn't that different from what we're trying to do here? I mean, maybe Airport Road is more of a business park, but downtown is very much a government neighborhood with a lot of symbolism in the landscaping, the statues we have out, columns we may use because they reference some sort of philosophical background to government. And just wanted to throw that
They
out
wouldn't be
there.
designing buildings. This is more of a land use plan in a sense, and it's a policy document. So they could establish policies that would say, should look like this, should act like this, should not include this. They're not designing buildings. That would go to the master plan for the individual building. And that would be a whole different process and maybe a different architect. This is just about the plan for the Capitol Mall, sort of the layout. And the Capitol Mall is largely built out. So we're not talking about a great deal, except for some of the parcels that we have that are undefined right now, the parking lots and how we use them. That's part of what the planning process would do, is like, what is the long range plan for that? But they're not designing the buildings per se.
I know, but there'll be references to design features, right?
Yes.
That's what I meant.
And each one of these partners work in all of the state-owned buildings. And that's why we wanted to bring the CPC into it, so that we could get the visions from each one of us to be able to work with them. And they're gonna ask us a lot of questions, not be able to make a decision on their own without our.
Without saying that it answers your question, I worked with Sarah Henbury Eddy and Ankrum Boys at Willamette on buildings at Willamette, which are pretty culturally laden
Yes.
buildings. And Henbury Eddy, we did some master planning work with them, which would be a lot like this kind of work.
You like their work then?
Oh, yeah, these are top firms. You can't always afford them. They come from Portland, so.
They also compete nationally too.
Oh,
So it's actually
I
kind of
know.
reverse that. you just have to-
But they're very good firms.
I believe Sarah just did an area plan for the state of Colorado as well. I'll double check out one of these firms, and I'm pretty sure it's there. And you know, to bring in the tribes and different work groups, they'll have the authority to bring in whatever, like if you're sensing that there's a historical something that we should evaluate in a specific area in the area plan, they could bring in a very specific group to help advise in those situations as well. The price agreement.
Thank you. I'm very comfortable with the staff recommendation.
We just heard you all loud and clear last time, so we wanted to document everything so that we could discuss, so it didn't look like thanks for telling us we're gonna do what we want to do anyway.
So do you want me to make a motion?
Is there any? I guess we can discuss after the motion is made.
I move that we approve the staff recommendation.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
That's Cheney.
Oh, it's.
Yep. that was Chase.
Oh, Shane, okay.
And I, Deb.
And any opposed? Seeing none.
Right.
Motion passed.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. That'll allow us to kind of expedite this, depending on we get going, but, just to shift gears a little bit, I think, we may need to schedule another meeting, because we're gonna have some activity related to Wilson Park that, remember, if you recall, I believe it was July, we discussed Wilson Park and that they were gonna come back when they have design drawings. We're now at that time. So yeah, after the holiday, things are picking up. So be on the lookout for a scheduled meeting that is before our quarterly meeting. So
And that's because they're ahead of schedule. I guess.
They're not necessarily ahead of schedule. They just delivered some documents to us just right prior to this meeting, and there was no way that we could really understand it, present it at this time, so.
well,
Is there
Mayor,
any new business?
that's all I have for this meeting. I tried to make it short and sweet, but I know you guys came down here, but
Is there any public comment? Anyone? Okay, we're adjourned.
Great.
Till the next meeting.
thank you very much, everyone.
See you guys. See you next
Bye.
time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.